So joining us now to discuss, Jesse Lehrich, co-founder of Accountable Tech. Jesse, great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. Back in October, the former president said True Social, that's his new social media platform, would basically be formed with his Trump Media and Technology Group. How far away is that platform from being operational, and could it potentially influence the midterms here?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Baker. I think if the history of Trump products is anything to go by, Trump vodka, Trump ice, Trump airlines, Trump water, I'm not exactly holding my breath for the launch of Truth Social. Frankly, I think it's more of a stunt than a real play to make an impact on politics or the midterms. I think the truth of the matter is that the president desperately wants to be back on the mainstream platforms where he can reach millions and millions of people and, stir them up the way we've seen in the past. So I wouldn't put too much import on the actual launch of this platform.
So you're already thinking True Social is not going to be, he proclaims it's going to be as big as Twitter, it's going to be as big as TikTok. You don't think there's a chance that this thing becomes that big?
It's going to be huge. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the truth is, you see there's other platforms that have popped up that are popular on the right, whether it's Cheddar that was started by Jason Miller, a former top Trump aide, or Rumble, which is a YouTube alternative, or a Gab. I'm concerned about some of the things that you see happening on some of these alternative right-wing media platforms. At the same time, they just don't have anywhere near the reach or impact on the broader discourse that platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter have. So I don't think it's going to have a massive impact other than maybe becoming one more gathering place for Trump, super fans.
Well, so you bring up a really interesting point, because now we're actually seeing so many conservative social sites popping up, and you mentioned a bunch of them right there. Getter is one I'm really interested in because it's already got the backing of Joe Rogan, and we know he has a huge following, and he's trying to direct a lot of his followers there. And then you mentioned Jason Miller, the former communications director for the president. He's basically running this thing. Why didn't the former president just decide, I'm going to be a part on Getter instead of True Social? Like, is there enough in this ecosystem for all these conservative social media pages here?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think you're seeing this kind of balkanization, and you already see it obviously even with TV. You've got Fox News, obviously a staple on the right wing for a long time, but now you've got Newsmax and OAN and other platforms, popping up to the right of Fox. I just don't think there's that many places to gather the same people, right? You have limited time and resources, and at the end of the day, whether it's right-wing politicians or anyone else, I think that people want to be where they can reach the largest possible audience. And I think for the president, when it comes to Getter, I think, frankly, he wants to have his name and be able to make money out of the platform. And so as fun as it's been to watch Jason Miller desperately try to convince the president via public appearances and whatnot to join his platform, I don't think he has too much interest in it, but we'll see.
No, and listen, I've been one that has said, most conservative social media is about owning the libs. It's going to be hard to own the libs if the libs are not on the platform, which I think is going to be a big thing here. But I want to kind of retroactively look back. A year ago, the former president was kicked off YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. After a year of us sort of digesting him not having a social media presence, do you still think at the end of the day it was a good idea for these social platforms to boot him? And do you think we collectively as a society need him on social media?
I can tell you, I wake up a little bit less on edge every morning, not having to worry about what the president just tweeted. But no, I think, look, I'm not one, and Accountable Tech is not an organization that's primarily looking to deplatform people. I think there are plenty of ways other than censorship or deplatforming to limit the reach and impact of people in general. But when it comes to President Trump, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg said himself, the president used our platform to incite a violent insurrection against a democratically elected government. And so when you get to the point where you have someone like President Trump, former President Trump, thankfully, with such an enormous reach and so much sway with his audience, using those platforms to repeatedly break the rules that they have set and to incite violence and racial tensions, spread big lies about democracy and COVID alike. I mean, I think at a certain point, you don't really have a choice, that the harm and the risks are too great. The threat to democracy is too great to allow him back on these mainstream platforms.
Jesse Lehrich, co-founder of Accountable Tech. Great to have you here, Jesse. Thanks so much for joining us.